Welcome to another episode of Global Health Talks on the brighter side. In each episode of the podcast, I talk to incredibly inspiring global health professionals whose work is offering hope for a better and healthier tomorrow. I'm Nika Stasny, a global health PhD student and your host. Today, I'm thrilled to welcome Laia Serrano Biosca to the podcast. Laia is the founder and CEO of BarcelonActua, a remarkable community of more than 13,000 members united by one mission, inspiring people to take action and make a difference in their own communities. Through BarcelonActua, volunteers and citizens come together to support vulnerable groups, especially refugees and immigrants, helping foster integration through personal growth, education, and meaningful human connection. Just 5 years after launching the organization, Laia was honored with the Civic Action Award in recognition of her extraordinary contribution to society through civic engagement. More importantly, she has built an organization that has opened countless doors for people that are too often overlooked or excluded. Today, she joins us to share the story behind building both a foundation and a movement, and the most valuable lessons she has learned along the way.
Thank you very much for inviting me, Nika.
So let's get straight into it. I know we already had a busy day ahead, so I wanted to ask you, you were so kind to make this time in the evening. I know you had a very important meeting before this. Would you like to share a bit on your role and just, for example, what the meeting was about?
Sorry. What the meeting was about? I didn't get the question. Sorry, I
Yeah,
didn't
of
get
course.
that. As CEO of BarcelonActua Foundation, I had to present the results of last year of 2025, and also sharing with board members all the things we've done and we are about to do in this 2026. It's kind of
Wow.
a protocolary meeting that we have twice a year with our board members.
Okay, that's very exciting and definitely a very important meeting. Of course, thank you very much for making the time to be here after that meeting. So I'm very curious, when you were growing up, did you ever imagine that you would one day start and lead a foundation like this and participating in meetings like this one?
At that point, certainly not. I mean, I wouldn't think about that. But I have to say, thinking about that, I would say that I have this image when I was young, my dad used to take my sister and I to the school every morning. And I remember we would pass by one person that was begging on the street. He was a homeless. And my dad used to, well, instead of ignoring him or invisibilizing him, he encouraged us to give him some coins. And that was for many years. And I think that um I think that that shaped me. I mean, I think that I'm so grateful that my dad uh taught us to see vulnerable people with empathy, with closeness rather than indifference. I think that that's something that I don't know. Now thinking about it, I think that that impacted me and shaped me in a way. It's true that afterwards I studied university. I studied economics, and I entered the private sector. I work for a wine and sparkling wine company, so nothing to do with the social sector. But I realized at one point that that didn't motivate me at all. So I felt that my purpose was far away from that. Okay, and now maybe I see that. Um, Moving into the social sector in a way was kind of a natural step for me because of that path, okay, with a dad showing me, you know, the vulnerable people when I was young. I don't know, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely wonderful. You made me so emotional already because I had the same experience really. And when you mentioned the part of that your parent makes those that are socially excluded feel visible is something, yeah, that I had a very same experience what my mom did as well, because it's so
Yes.
easy, of course, to make those people invisible. So yeah, I can absolutely understand why that comes from upbringing. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, I
It's true. Many people, they do not see them. I
yeah.
mean, they do not, and I think that that's something that if you, I'm happy to hear that it happened the same to you, because I think that if when you feel that from when you are young, very young, when your parents are giving you these values, that stays for the rest of your life, and that impacts you and that shapes you in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially from the young age, because I feel like if we start later, it's harder to install it in us. I feel
Yeah.
like when you're a child, it really hits you differently because we're so emotional and open
Yeah, I agree
to
with
new
that. Yeah.
experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think this is a perfect transition to what I wanted to ask you, is that many people feel this compassion when they see social problems, but very few turn that feeling into real action. So how did you do that? How did you transform the empathy into a very, very structured initiative like BarcelonActua? How did you go from an idea to building a team and eventually a community?
Well, I think that the key was the motivation I had. I think that that's the key. I mean, I felt at that time, and I still feel. I mean, the motivation was I had a project in mind, and that a project that deeply connected with my life purpose,
Mhm.
and that gives you a lot of motivation. And I thought from the beginning that that could become something meaningful for me and something big in a way, and I felt ready to take it on, I think.
Mhm.
And I have to say that also that motivation brought me to share the idea I had with a lot of people, with many people, and they helped me in a way to shape the idea, and supported me in building the foundations of Barcelona Actua. And and in a way, um, really, I saw that I was seeing that everything kind of made sense. I thought that I was doing what was aligned, as I said, with my purpose of life. It wasn't simply empathy for the sake of empathy. It was
Mhm.
about turning that empathy into action. And then also the beginning, I remember the response from the volunteers, also with the media. We had a lot of impact in media. With I still remember this newspaper. In one day, we got 1,000 people registering in our community
Wow.
because one interview they made me. That was very so. I saw when I saw this volunteering response also with the media. And I saw that this idea had the potential to grow into something truly meaningful. And
Mhm.
that gave me also a lot of motivation. So we see
Absolutely.
that.
Absolutely. When those 1,000 volunteers applied, how far along were you already since this initial idea?
2 months. Sorry,
Wow.
no. From the okay, I had the idea with this radio program. When I had this idea, which it was December 2010. Then from that day, from the idea simply, it went through. I think it was like 10 months. In 10 months, I started Barcelona Actua because, after having the idea, then of course I had to, I have to transform it into
Mhm.
first, I mean, the project. Okay. But that was more or less 9, 10 months. And then after launching the community of Barcelona Actua, after that launch, that was, I think it was like a September, and I remember perfectly. It was December 2011, and that's when we appear in that newspaper. And then that day, just in one day, 1,000
Mhm.
people joining our
Um,
community. That was very
that's
emotional.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And I can imagine how much that drives you forward. That's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. Okay, I'm curious also because of any young person that's listening to this. You had an idea and you were super motivated, and you said that you shared it with a lot of people. But I'm curious, how did you start building a team?
The team, let's see, from the beginning, I have to say that from the beginning, I dedicated 100% of my working time to the project. Okay, I think that that's very important when you have an idea, because it's not that you start working after 9 p.m. when you have stopped with your, ordinary work. And I think that's a very important. And then from the beginning also, I hired one person to help me in order to kind of construct the project. I had the idea, but I had uh, to uh, to put it down. Okay, and at that point also I had I had one thing for sure, that I wanted to be social, but at the same time I really knew that the virtual part, the technology, that we had to have this platform that could serve to, connect people. Okay, I knew that it has to have a lot of proximity and a lot of presence, but at the same time it needed to have this, virtual community, which would um, make easier the connection between people. And at the beginning, as I said, I hired one person, and then when we launched the BarcelonActua, I hired another person, and then another, and now we are 24 people working in BarcelonActua. And which I have to say also, Anika, that it was not easy, because BarcelonActua now has nothing to do with the BarcelonActua 10 years ago. It has changed a lot. And it it has had, this change has had impact also on the team. I mean, we had to make a reorganization of the foundation, because no longer the people that would fit at the beginning are aligned now, and that was kind of hard. I have to say,
Mm.
that was like more or less 5 years ago, or 4 years ago, when we start with this change. I like to say that um, we were passing through from adolescence to the adulthood of
Mhm.
BarcelonActua, and that was hard at that point, because that was hard anyway.
By saying that you moved from adolescence to adulthood, by that you mean of the people that you are aiming to help with Barcelona
Uh,
Actua?
in both, let's see. Yeah, I meant that when you want your project to scale up. Okay, you have to introduce processes, you have to introduce new methodologies. Okay, and at the beginning we had a lot of people that we had hired, that they were volunteers. Maybe they were not that professional, but they had so much passion. And also at the beginning we were um, we were more assistential. We were giving food. Now we are helping developing migrants.
Mhm.
I mean, at the beginning, we were giving more, let's say, we were covering more primary needs. And that was, we used to give meals for the elderly, for homeless people. We used to play games with kids, and we mobilize a lot of people. Okay, a lot of volunteers, and we reach a lot of vulnerable people, but not very deeply.
Mhm.
Okay, so we were helping them with more, as I said, primary needs. Okay, now we are taking people from the streets. And then these people, we help them to develop, to learn the language, Spanish and Catalan. We also help them in their education. Then we help them with their regularization process, to get their papers. Also, we help them to find a job. And so that's a lot more difficult. Okay. And that needs a bigger structure, and as I said, processes, methodologies, and that's so we had to change. We had to change a little bit and that was sad because of course we had to fired some people that gave had given a lot to Barcelona Actua with a lot of passion, but that they were not that more aligned with the new path that Barcelona Actua was taking. It was with the new direction of Barcelona Actua.
It's a big change, but it's such an important one from these primary needs, which are obviously so important. You're now solving problems at such a deeper level
Yes.
that obviously it requires more work and serious work. And I cannot imagine to the extents and the meetings you have to go through to be able to provide everything that you're providing. I know you're providing scholarships. I know even foster homes, helping with so much immigration papers and everything. So I can
Yeah,
definitely imagine.
and
Yeah.
also, Nika, the thing is that when you are growing, then also you start having big donors, okay, big companies that put money, philanthropies, and they want to see results. They want to see real impact, and for that you have to measure that impact.
Mhm.
You cannot just, okay, I served or I tell. I mean, you really have to have this technology also. These to be able to measure that impact, because they want to see that, otherwise they won't keep supporting the programs.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Yeah. There's a greater help that you're giving, but also then greater need, and then it just keeps growing in
yes.
circles. Yeah. But it's amazing that it has come to where it came. But I can imagine how much more serious work it is. But that's amazing. I think everything that you shared was so interesting in the way that it's been evolving and the needs and the reality behind it. And I know BarcelonActua, as we're talking now, has helped many people pursue education through scholarships, providing housing, food, created connections through mentorships. I know you provide mentorships as well. So I was curious, through all of this, is there a story that you would like to share with me, anyone listening, that has touched you more deeply than the others? I'm sure that so many have touched you, but anything that maybe pops into your head now?
Well, there are so many stories, Nika, you can imagine, and it's difficult to choose one. Every week, I mean, every day, there are stories of resilience. I learned a lot about the young people we support. Also, stories of volunteers, also that whose mindset changes as a result of this connection with immigrants. I could share many of them, but maybe if I think of one, I remember, I think it was a couple of years after we launched Barcelona Actua, and there's this situation that kind of stayed with me. I remember there was, we call it in Spanish, comedor social, a community kitchen, or where you give food for homeless people.
Hmm.
Okay, we had this activity. Now we don't have it anymore because, as I said, now we help to develop people. We are not that assistential. But I remember we used to give these meals for homeless, and we had, like, every night we would have 10, 20 people lying on a queue to get a dinner. Okay, and I remember there was this guy from a company that came to volunteer with us, and we were talking, and suddenly he recognized someone in the line, a girl that was waiting for this meal in our foundation. And it turned out to be a former classmate from his high school.
Wow.
And he was deeply shocked, and so was I. And it was yet another reminder that we are all potentially vulnerable, And one day we might be doing very well, and the next day we could be sleeping on the street. So that realization that had a strong impact on me in that particular, because I mean, I don't know, that shocked me a lot, because I knew before this corporate volunteer, because actually we used to work together. And wow, this and they used to go a good school in Barcelona. So it was kind of shocking how that woman end up sleeping on the street, huh? So it's kind of, I don't know, it's as I said, we are all potential vulnerable.
Absolutely. It hits so differently. And unfortunately, that it hits us so deeply when it's someone that's near us.
Yeah.
And what you said, potentially vulnerable, that was something that I wanted to share with you. Actually, when I was reading your webpage, when I was curious about your organization last year and wanted to join, I was reading your philosophy, and I loved the quote about being potentially vulnerable so much that I would like to share right
Uh,
now, if you're okay with it. I loved it so much that I wrote it on my post-it note, and I have it on my window above my working desk
uh,
with all of my
uh,
favorite kind of quotes that get me through the day. So I would like to really share this because I think it's so in line with what you were saying. So you said in your webpage, we are all potentially vulnerable. We all have something we need, and we all have something to contribute in a horizontal manner and without being anyone's savior. There is, for me, so many beautiful things here that get me through the day. Honestly, it's with that we are potentially vulnerable, that we always have to remind ourselves that it could be us, which I think, especially in these days, so many people, I don't think, are aware of it. And that we all have something we need also to give to someone and to contribute, something that can also help us through the day. And without being anyone's savior is something that I really, really enjoyed so much. That was the part that made me want to join so much last year, because I don't want to save anyone. I just want to be
uh,
part of
uh.
something. And you reaffirmed it so much, and I absolutely love it. I have to tell you that.
Oh, that's so nice, Nika. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you for telling me. That's
Yeah, absolutely. It was so inspiring. So I was wondering, with this in mind, and especially also with the story you shared and with this idea that we just want to be a part of something, and it's not about us just saving other people, because we could also just be a person in the same situation. When people volunteer at BarcelonActua, whether it's mentoring students or even opening up their own homes, because I know you do foster houses, what do you see them learning through their experience? Do you see them coming out changed?
Yes, yes, and that also motivates me a lot to see those changes. I think that I think what impact them the most is the shift in their mindsets. The mental frames we all have. I think that through volunteering, it helps them to break down the prejudices they may have. And I have to say, nowadays we all have so many prejudice. We all have so many, let's say, mental frames that are very influenced by what we read, what we see on the social networks or on the newspaper, and that usually those are very quite bad towards immigrants. Okay, so I love when I see, these volunteers that change their mindsets, okay, through this context, through these connections. That's one of the most important things. And I see them growing, I see them learning, I see them discovering other cultures. I mean, I think that makes them grow as a humans at the end, and that's very inspiring for me, and that's very motivated for me to see this
Yeah.
changes in people volunteering.
That's absolutely beautiful. If this hasn't motivated anyone who's listening right now to join, I don't know what will, really. I'm curious. I know that you have so many people now in your community and managing a team. What have you learned about leadership throughout this work?
Well, I think that what I've learned, so many things I've learned, so many, and I'm learning every day. But I would say that the most important thing is to keep people at the center of everything I do. I mean, everybody. And when I mean everybody in the center, it means volunteers, it means the professional team, it means the people we support. Because at the end, social impact is not only about programs or projects, it's about people and the relationships we build with them. It's about creating an environment where everyone feels seen, feels respected, and valued. And for me, I would say that this human approach is essential. Is essential for me. It's what gives me meaning to everything we do, and what makes real, lasting changes possible. Okay, this human approach for me is people always on the center. I would say that's for me that's the biggest learning.
That's absolutely beautiful. I hear so much enjoyment coming out of you while you talk about your work. I think it's absolutely amazing. I see that you do it with a full heart.
Oh, yeah, I love
Absolutely.
my
Yeah.
work. I'm a privilege. I mean, I love it.
Mm.
And actually, it's true. It's true. And I'm glad that you see it in my voice. Thank
Absolutely,
you.
absolutely. Even if we're online right now, your energy is coming to me truly.
Oh,
It's
that's so
really
sweet.
motivating. I so see how much you're enjoying it, but I can also imagine that it's not always easy, especially with so many difficult life stories. How do you handle that? Do you have some rituals outside of work to help you ground yourself and go through more challenging times?
Yeah, I would say um, I think that in this moment we are going through, we have political tension here in Spain and around the world. We have racism, and knowing or feeling that I'm doing something, however small, but to have this feeling that I'm doing something to help make this world a little bit better, a little bit a place better to live, that gives me a lot of strength. Because I love listening to the radio. I love being informed by the media. By especially with newspaper. I read every day the newspaper, a local newspaper from Barcelona. I like to be informed, and sometimes I'm sad about some things I read, but but at the same time I'm happy. I feel powerful because I'm doing something. I'm
Mm.
acting, and that gives me a lot of strength, a lot. And also, I would say more personal. I do every day. I do a little bit of short, 12 minutes of meditation. I did from 1 year ago. That gives me calm and gives me serenity, because sometimes it's true that we have very intensive days. Okay, so the meditation, which I do, as I said, from almost 1.5 years now, and that gives me a lot of calm, as I said. And also, I would say I like sharing both good things and bad things with my partner. That gives me a lot of. I mean, I have a very good partner, and I can talk to him about everything that happens to me in BarcelonActua. So we don't always talk about BarcelonActua, but I always have somebody to 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 be able to talk about different things, which gives me a lot of confidence, or somebody very close to me. That helps me a lot also, I would say.
I think it's wonderful, especially the part of having loved ones around you support you.
Yeah.
I think it's very important to highlight that, because sometimes when I see people succeeding and being really, really great at what they do, I paint an image that they're doing everything by themselves, while
uh,
actually we always have someone that's holding our hand,
yeah.
especially the ones that are doing really well. We cannot really just handle everything alone.
uh,
So I think,
yeah, and also with
yeah.
friends, with my partner, I have to say that because he's also quite involved with BarcelonActua in another way. I mean, not in a daily basis, but also with friends. And but I agree with you. I mean, it's I need that to have
So
this, yeah, to be able to share with the loved ones. Yeah.
that's beautiful. What is your main advice for young people on how to be more sensitive, open, and aware what's going on around them? Do you have any advices?
Well, I would, if I had to say one, I would say to step outside their bubbles. I mean, I think that that's now, I think young people, and in general, not just young people, but we are all in our own bubbles. And I would recommend them to leave them, to step out of them, to cultivate curiosity and empathy. And nowadays, we live in a very complex society, and the only way to truly understand what is happening around us is by actively listening to people whose life experiences are different from ours. I think that that's very important. And when we step outside our bubble, we question our own assumptions and remain open to learning from others. And then it's when, again, we grow as a humans. And I think that would be my biggest advice. Step out of your bubble.
I think it's absolute perfect answer for anyone listening. So I would like to wrap up with one final question. Looking ahead, hopefully into a very bright future ahead of us, what gives you hope? What gives you hope for a future that has a more inclusive society than what we have right now?
I would say that hope is remembering that most of the people want to live in a more just and caring society. But sometimes, the loudest voices are also the least supportive, and they can seem to dominate the conversation, but it's not. There are so many people willing, and actually I think the majority of people, most people, simply want to live together in peace, respect one another, and support each other. I definitely think so. And I think about neighbors, I think about teachers, I think about volunteers, I think about organizations who act with empathy and sense of responsibility. And I become convinced that this is the real force that moves our societies forward. And that is why I remain optimistic, Nika, about the future. I really
Mm.
think so. But it's just that the majority is quiet.
Yeah,
And as I said, that's the majority. But the thing is, the social networks are very, the ones that are less supportive or less solidar. Those are the people that make more noise, but that's not the majority. And as I said, I mean, um, in my day, I see a lot of people willing to help, a lot of good people, no, and that makes me feel optimistic about the future.
now I'm thinking how much I should implement what you have just said, because on those days when I feel like nothing is going right and that there's so much darkness and negativity in the world, maybe we're just focusing too much on the loud voices, and we should just look around us and realize that no, actually so many people want good and want to do good, but those are the ones that aren't heard. That's all right. Next time I will just remember that and turn to the people around me.
Yeah, actually, like, you just have to see the newspapers. I mean, usually they just talk about bad things, but there are so many good things happening in the world every day, but they are not on the news.
Yeah.
There are
Yeah.
so many good people. Actually, I mean, now if I think about my day today, I was surrounded about, good people with good feelings, but they don't make noise.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned this. I know that there are some news outlets that are trying to tip the scale a bit and that are trying to make the news like, okay, well, let's do only positive, let's talk about all the things that are going right. There's actually a podcast called What Could Go Right, and it served
Uh,
me as a great inspiration to start this podcast among many other reasons why I wanted to do it. But I don't know if I shared with you actually that I haven't revealed the name for my podcast yet because I guess I was still a bit indecisive. But one of the names that I wanted to give was just on the brighter side. So it was about having
Oh,
conversations with people that are doing beautiful things in the world related to global health. So I'm really glad you mentioned this.
oh,
I hope that this podcast and you being on it will play this small part in that,
oh, yeah.
with sharing the positive voices and all the beautiful things that are happening, like
Mhm.
BarcelonActua.
Oh, thank you. That's a very good name. I like it.
Thank you. Thank you. I have another vote for yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for this conversation. You have really just sparked so much positivity in me, and I hope it does the same for others. I'm sure.
Oh, thank you very much, Nika, for inviting me. It was a pleasure. I mean, and you're a lovely person. And as I said, you see, there are so many. I mean, there are a lot of people doing good things.